Okay, I'm going to hit record on this and we'll get started as well. Do you need to check that first, or?
I can see sound levels are bouncing, so that's good.
All right, I'm getting started.
And I'll hold this over here.
So we're just doing audio for you, but video and audio.
There's a lot of a lot of confusion that's happening.
Don't worry about that.
So just ignore that fact that we're all we've got a lot of devices, a lot of technology. Oh, and you're holding the mic.
Somebody?
Right, yeah.
I feel like I'm not doing anything. I'm not calling anybody. I've got no tech doing.
Detachable.
I'll just look at my phone.
But you will be in charge of calling out lifelines if we need that additional help. So
Sure, okay.
50-50.
Yes.
I used that. I used that in my presentation this week. Yeah.
Oh, you called someone for help?
No, well, I had 50-50 was I may or may not get the document or the information I wanted in time. Phone a friend was also hit and miss, so hopefully you can use the status on Skype for Business. Or ask the audience was put it out there in Teams or Yammer and get some response back quickly.
See, I like that idea. Well, why don't we formally get this thing started? This is Christian Buckley. Here's the CollabTalk podcast. And let you introduce yourselves over to my far left.
I'm Loryan Strant, formerly known as the Cloudmouth. Still a loudmouth, just not so much about clouds.
And I'm Daryl as a Service Webster, adoption and change management specialist, and all-round something guy.
Nice guy.
A nice guy. Yeah, we're sitting here at the tail end of the Digital Workplace Conference here in Sydney. And so it's been a great crowd, a lot of interactions, some great questions. Always like the positive feedback coming out of the session. Never hear the negative feedback directly. They send nasty grams, and honestly, later, I'd rather just come up and tell me to my face so that I can defend myself. No.
Or just knock them out.
Yeah.
I just can't bring myself to look at speaker feedback. I take it too personally.
But it's not just that. It's that it's either over the top, just like it's there's nothing constructive in it. Just like fantastic, I loved it. And then just like, but I hate every fiber of this speaker's body. There's not much constructive that comes out of it.
My favorite bit of feedback, and not so much speaker feedback, but on my first Exchange Online migration book, one of the pieces of feedback on Amazon, you can see this book was too technical. It's an Exchange migration book. I'm not sure what kind of fairies and unicorns we're going to be talking about. Right. It's PowerShell and GUI.
Yeah, well, I did a session at two different events, same event, the SharePoint Fest, and same session. I had one that was saying, hey, we wanted more. It was around around a marketing topic. They wanted more. I focused too much on internal communications, and they wanted to know more about just marketing systems in general. And so I retooled the presentation. I go give the same session, but now retooled at the other location. What do you think the feedback I got? They wish that it had been focused more on internal communications.
Of course.
So I told them. They asked. I said, "Are you interested in doing that one again for DC in December?" I said, "Don't please remove that abstract. Too much." Anyway, too specialized. I said it's more of a one-on-one conversation than it was sitting in a class.
I think audience members kind of need to choose. They need to really think about what is it that I'm going here to get out of this. So if I go to a thought leadership session and the guy doesn't show me any PowerShell scripts, well, that's kind of what you walked into.
Yeah, right. And I think that you're right. I mean, it's important to go and look at what track are you speaking to. I always try to, at the beginning of my session, say, look, this is what it is, this is what it isn't. There was a guy that was, Microsoft was providing some training or guidance to MVPs. They had this guy who was an awesome presenter, and he actually discouraged doing that, like doing too much of it. He just likes the whole launch into the topic, just start talking about it, not do the formal, here's me, here's my background, and here's who sponsored this, and let's go through that kind of structured. He's against the tell the audience what you're going to tell them.
Yep.
And then afterward, that whole model.
I remember that.
However, by starting out by saying, look, this is what it is, doing the level setting of like who's in the audience here, what types, and I'd always say for most of my sessions, which are very much business user, end user, business user, productivity, or business decision maker focused. And I'd say, how many engineers, like on that side, the deep technical, and hands go up and say, I would say, I have nothing for you. This is not the session for you. This is a business topic. Like, please do not come back with feedback that I didn't demo enough on something that there are no demos in. This is a marketing discussion.
I'm doing similar with my slide. Is one of the opening slides is actually the session abstract to say, so let's talk about the expectations. This is what this session abstract is. this is what I'm going to be talking about and showing you. And that's what I say. I will not be showing you this because it's not in the abstract.
Right.
So we're here to focus on the topic.
But the other problem too is that in an hour-long session, it's not formal training on the details of every possible thing on technology. Look, there are some people that's how they give their sessions. They're sitting there in the dark, with their back to the screen, working on their computer, working through a problem, trialing something else. I realize I'm not the audience for that. Incredibly boring presentations, but there's no discussion at all about how do I actually apply this? Who do I go talk to? What's actionable about this? Maybe that's just the way that I approach.
Look what I can do with this PowerShell script and how I can automate all this. Oops, I got this part wrong. Backspace. Okay. No, is this quite right? Then the audience calls out and they say, no, you need to do this. Oh, okay, that's right. So it becomes more of a workshop than a presentation.
Right.
Well, I think, and not necessarily so much from a conference perspective. I was talking to Daryl about this, where this comes down to expectation setting. I was with a customer the other week who wanted me to train them on Office 365 things. So I took them through my usual spiel of here's what's in the stack, here's what you can do, here's this. And then one of the support guys wanted me to come over and sit next to him and say, so can you show me how to do things in Office 365? I said, okay, well, what is it that you don't know how to do in Office 365 that you did with your on-prem Exchange? Oh, no, I'm okay. So what would you like to know? Well, I don't know. Just show me things. But what is it you want to know? Well, I don't know what I don't know. I went, okay, I don't know what you don't know that you don't know. So how are we going to find a place for me to show you things that you don't know you need to know?
So that's why you just need to know obscure, little used features that no one needs to know about, but have those to pull out of your back pocket.
Yeah.
Right?
What I should have shown him was like how to set a voicemail policy. And he said, but we don't need to know that. Like, well, I don't know that you don't need to know.
Shortcuts.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes, and get
Well, so here's a question for you guys. So here we are, Digital Workplace Conference, and which is the evolution of what had been for many years. This is the 8th time that this event has been in Sydney. Mm-hmm. I think I started presenting at these at like the 3rd here, and something like that. So a couple of years had gone by before I got involved and started presenting. But what has evolved around how people think about it? I mean, it was a SharePoint conference. Now it is a broader and less technical, more business-focused conference.
Yeah.
How has the dialogue changed?
So let me jump in before Daryl talks because he hasn't said much. So I'm going to talk anyway. Okay.
Yeah, I actually was on board with Debbie working for her when she changed up the format. So it was the SharePoint conference, became the Digital Workplace Conference. And I understand that her vision behind that was to encompass more than just SharePoint. That SharePoint, sure, it underpins a lot of things in the collaboration space, but there are other pieces to the puzzle. And with Office 365 widening the capabilities that needed to encompass these sorts of discussions within the conference as well. So still have the traditional business track, IT pro track, thought leader track, etc.
I like the case study track too. I think it's fantastic to go and have that, especially if there's not that you're going to go and sit necessarily a day of just the case study presentations. But depending on what the topic is, and especially if you have a mix of industries, if you can go and find something that is aligned with what you do, what your company does, and go see, hey, here they went through this experience, it'd be fantastic, the insights you get out of that.
I'm disappointed there's no sessions on GigJam. I feel like we missed out there.
Yeah.
There's been killed.
Oh, well and truly, because I did try and do a session on it in our user group. Yeah, it was interesting.
I think to the point, as you said, like I presented here when it was a SharePoint conference several years ago, and yeah, it was all about SharePoint, and then over time it was then Office 365 and SharePoint, and we were talking about migrations and which OneDrive are you using and those kind of things, and I think that here, like today, for example, I've sat in the thought leadership track. And yesterday was also a good chunk of it. It's been about employee engagement. It's been about activity-based working. It's been about change management and success. And you spoke about it a lot in the keynote. So we're not about a product anymore because our users don't want a product. They want a solution. They want an outcome. And I guess as us who deal with Office 365, we don't just say, I'll give you an intranet that will fix it. Here's all the different things. Which is why it has to be more the digital workplace conference as opposed to how I use Slack in my personal life.
Solutions don't sit just in something like SharePoint. They're now spanning more than just one product. So one theme that's been really big in this conference has been it's all about the people. It's all about addressing the culture and trying to help transform into a digital workplace, but address the people first. And that's really, I think, the main change of what's happened with this conference.
I do hear, though, a lot of customers that are struggling with just to understand, how to move away from talking SharePoint, talking platform, talking that side of it. Really, I think, people, I think just kind of intrinsically understand yes, it needs to be about what my business needs to go and accomplish. We are in business, whatever your company is. You're not in business to use the technology. That's I used to ask audiences, why are you what's your goal with deploying SharePoint? And the number one answer was, well, to collaborate more. Like, okay, that's correct technically, but it's a platitude. It's meaningless. Like, what does that mean? I said, so is your job meaning that if you collaborate more, you get paid more? Does that drive revenue for your organization? Well, no. So what do you actually do? Well, you're a finance organization. You whatever it is that the company is. You're banking. You're in whatever, and you're using this technology so that and that's where the conversation starts. What are the primary workloads, the work activities, in which you're looking to have 2x output of faster customer response time of when you're highly regulated, and as you're audited, you're able to much more easily pull the necessary reports and data. All of those things, those are the outcomes that you're really driving towards.
And I don't think the outcomes are necessarily linearly, making that a word, directly related to a product or a solution, because we were in the activity-based working session earlier, and one of the things that was asked was, okay, you've implemented activity-based working, has this made people more productive? And she said, invariably, no. They are less productive with activity-based working. So then, why do we continue to do this?
Explain it really quick, like 30 seconds, what is activity-based?
So activity-based working is focusing on the task, focusing on the
say
job.
All work is activity-based, but anyway.
Well, it's more about working where you need to be as opposed to this is your desk and this is where your phone calls go. So,
because personally, I'd like to find work that pays well that's inactivity-based.
That would be great.
So, in fact, if it's like watching television-based,
you could become a sleep-based patient, that gets measured about their sleep patterns. Hammock tester.
Yeah. But so the question then becomes, why would you continue with activity-based working? And it has other benefits that aren't just about productivity, because it's going to be about employee retention, it's going to be about employee well-being, business efficiency, building efficiency and cost. So I think we have the same thing when it comes to Office 365. Is I don't just want an intranet because I need to put my files somewhere because the file server has to be cut off. I want to achieve this outcome, and it's not necessarily going to be SharePoint related because we've always thought that way.
The other trend that came out of that talk was, while it's not increasing productivity, that's again due to culture and how they addressed activity-based working. Sometimes it was introduced with a big stick. We move into a new building, you're not going to have a desk, so get used to it. And in the successful places, they actually said, no, you're going to have a desk, but we're going to create these spaces that you can wander around and mix and talk on the stairs and those sorts of things. So I think that we're still in the early stages of what the benefits of activity-based working, and that if culture change is addressed correctly, then they will see improvements in productivity.
What I find mentally difficult to grasp is we work with a lot of different customers, so our work is activity-based.
Yeah.
It is by definition, we are constantly dealing with just activity as opposed to places. So because I haven't worked for those large organizations like banks or government departments that have an office and my extension and those kind of things, it's been over 10 years since I have worked for one. I kind of can't fathom how do you not live life like this? What do you mean you go to the same desk every day and have your your compactness and your...
But you do. Think about it. Like if you're working from home, it's still the same desk. So let's think in a virtual sense.
True, but I don't go to my desk to work. That just happens to be where I put my laptop down, and I don't have any place to be right now, so I just pick my laptop up. But that being said, my work may start in the morning, or doing my constitutional with the phone. My work may begin then. That's activity based. But I think that's the thing is, yes, I do have a great home office setup, but that's not where I go to work. That just happens to be, I'm not going anywhere else to work.
So we're already at that level we can understand that we can work wherever, and even if we are at home, we're doing that virtually. We're already transcending those barriers. So that's the maturity level that they're looking to try and bring into every organisation that's bringing in activity-based working.
Well, it's the difficulty though has been, it was when I was in the mid '90s and went to work for Pacific Bell, the phone company, very large. In fact, the headquarters, massive building over in the San Francisco East Bay, where each wing of this giant building was like a quarter-mile long. It was like very, very large. But I was at a shared services organization. We moved to another town just south. We moved from San Ramon, California, down to Pleasant, California, and so I would find myself 2-3 times a week, at least, driving up and spending half a day up with some customer organization up within the ranch, as we called it there, in San Ramon. And so I had coworkers that would get on a phone call or send email, would never get up and go. And the level of satisfaction in those types of interactions was very low. But one of the reasons that they did do it, because it was, none of the information they needed, the systems, the tools they needed access to, they couldn't get it. They had to be at their workstation. So here we are. That's part of what we're talking about, is that we have the ability. Like now, I like just about everything that's on my workstation at home. Almost everything that's on that workstation is all in the cloud, and those folders there, so that I'm on with just my light profile, my little laptop, my Dell. I'm on the road, most of the time. I'm able to get access to all of those assets. Now, it doesn't mean that it performs the same way, and I'm not going to be doing my video editing
or streaming or rendering.
Right. We're having a little Wi-Fi issue now. When back home, I'm guaranteed business connection. I can do whatever I need to do there. But we have the ability to go and that's part of that activity base. It's like where you could have all those tools. It assumes that you have the capability to go and do anything that you need to do, have all that information wherever you are.
Well, there's that Microsoft sticker that my company a few years ago used as an influence that had "This is my office," and whenever I talk to customers, I would refer to it as on the back of my Surface, saying, "This is my office," and I'd say, "Actually, it's a lie. This happens to be the device that I'm using to access my office. This is my office, because as long as I know my password and have access to MFA or whatever it needs to be, any device is my office. So I can walk up to a kiosk device, and that's now my office. I can do my emails, do a Skype, or whatever."
As I flew here, I am wearing the Microsoft T-shirt that has the office, and it says "Step into my."
Into my office,
Yeah, and so I had about a dozen people ask me about my shirt on the trip here.
Step into my O.
Yeah.
Step into my box.
Yeah,
that's what I've got, and it's a family show, but the person that asked me about it was probably not suitable for this family show. I felt quite awkward. I said, "No, thank you. I don't want your flyer. Goodbye."
So my kids, I have also the Excel one and the Microsoft Word one.
Oh yeah.
Has
Word
the
up.
Word up, and then what is the Excel
I
one?
think of Cameo. What's his name? The Cameo, the singer from the '80s, who wore a cod piece and had sang the song. So word up.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
No, I didn't know the song. Yeah, I don't remember his name, but sorry. Yeah.
That's what I think it was Cameo or something.
Yeah, it was Cameo.
Yeah. I do find, though, that there's such a great disparity between the levels of workplaces. We still have so many organizations that are that traditional, this is my desk, this is my phone, this is my filing cabinet, this is my car space, this is where I go to work, these are the meeting rooms, and still work exactly the same way as they did effectively in the 80s, just with newer versions of technology. Then we've got these other ends of the spectrum where they've got the ratio of 8 desks per 10 people, and home based working, and climbers going up the walls with grass, and now spiders apparently.
It's a concern.
Yeah, apparently. Okay. The question is, what do you do with the spiders that grow in the grass on the wall? My suggestion was give them a name. race them.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is we have such a spectrum. So in that article I wrote about Life After Office 365, where I had this person who lived and breathed Office 365 and went to an organisation that didn't have it at all,
Yeah.
and just went,
Freaked out. Yeah.
how do you work like that?
Yeah.
What's this start button? And what do you mean it doesn't respond to touch? I know my actions don't work well on a podcast.
Makes great radio. I know.
Yeah.
No, but exactly. It's and I read that article. I liked that. I related to that. Some of the conversations they have too. And I was joking yesterday with somebody about you get people that are feel so superior about their Apple laptops, and I always love that. It's like how much I use touchscreen now, and and I get frustrated every time I'm sitting with somebody that has an Apple device, a laptop there, and I go to touch their screen to move something. I'm
Yeah.
So what is this archaic device here? Like, you can't do basic things like
Do you
that.
think it the standard they said that we're not going to make a touchscreen is because they just don't want smudges on that beautiful screen of
Oh,
theirs?
that's a good point.
I don't know.
You don't want to say it here.
Whether that's it?
Yeah.
I think
maybe
it is.
that's it. Probably, but what a stupid way to make a decision about the change in technology.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But they're being brave. It's not stupid.
No,
it's brave.
because they could make money off of the Apple branded screen wipes.
Oh, yes, you're right. And of course, everybody would have to refresh because Apple has made a touch device.
Right.
With the keyboard.
I would want the version 2 because I think the version 1 of that there might be some bugs.
And it might give you like directions to drive your car into the river.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I like the. If you guys ever see that kind of that future video for Microsoft where they had the person wakes up and turns on the TV or has a device, turns it on, goes in the bathroom, and whatever was on the TV goes to the bathroom, so they're sitting there shaving, brushing their teeth, watching it, falls in the car, all that kind of thing. I just think in the future, invest in Windex. But everything is going to go to touch, go to that model where every surface can become a computer.
Yeah.
And we are moving that direction. They've got now that pliable, bendable, it's a plastic, obviously not glass, but for the screens around there, we could actually have the video screen and this pliant plastic sheet that you could then put on different devices, or you could actually have. I hear that Microsoft has started up again. I don't have any inside information into it, but looking at that e-reader multi-screen pad concept again.
I think what we'll end up with is that Blade Runner view of the world, where everything is a screen and there's giant projections, and that is just our life. We're constantly accosted with information everywhere. So like one of the companies here had that Connect hooked up to the screen where it recognizes you, and so there's your what was that Minority Report, which I know was all based on real tech from MIT and those kind of things. But everywhere we'll walk up to will be glass, and we'll say, "Hey, Loryan, you've got a waxing appointment at 45 minutes." What? I don't want you to know that.
I just was joking too. I was talking about VR AR with Sean McDonald, Leah McCleary, and Noah Sparks and some recordings. And Noah and I were talking about, because Noah's been in my home office and this little cave, it's my basement down there with my desk and the bookshelves and stuff. And we were talking about doing a VR setup in there. And I said, I think that I know where the beams are on the ceiling. It's like, what are you talking about? It's like, well, like Minority Report, I got to have the hooks, the cables come down so I can be floating midair for my experience, so that I get the true Tom Cruise VR experience.
Fully immersive.
Where I'm moving files around because you need to.
That annoys me. That annoys. I mean, they've taken that same analogy and they used it for.
I know, and they're moving file shares.
Well, actually, there was. That's the latest video that I think Microsoft did, was they had the future vision of the office, and everyone's wearing a HoloLens just doing this, and I'm like, what are you doing?
That would be exhausting. So you've got your fitness counter or whatever on, and now it's about how many swipes you've done during the day. Everyone.
Why are you moving the file? Shouldn't you be working within the file? We're not like, what are we doing? Just building blocks. Like, I'm putting my files here. I'm not going to use them, but look at the stack.
Look at these biceps.
No, then you have the whole complex problem I was just thinking about. Like you're in this virtual world and you can't find what you need because it's all Dewey Decimal, and you don't. I don't know the Dewey Decimal system in here, so it's like, so you have then in your virtual world, you have like the little card drawers to go and find, and this is what I need, and then you've got to. virtually walk down the hallway to the library. All right, yeah.
Well, I mean, look, I look at my daughters, and 5 and 3, and my 5-year-old knows how to walk up to the Google Home and give it instructions. Usually it's to play the Troll soundtrack or Moana, but sometimes it's tell me a joke or something like that. So she also knows how to get the Xbox to turn on just by talking to it. So she's going to have a world very soon where she'll walk up and say, "Teacher, give me an A," or "It won't work," or "Door, open." Why does this thing not work? I have this at home.
That is happening. That's happening. Like
Star Trek Episode 5. Computer,
yeah.
Picks up the mouse.
But kids are walking up to those boxes now and getting the Google Home or whatever to complete their homework.
Well, that's actually how it's sold. Is that you should
it
have
really?
You should have a Google Home next to the kid doing their homework. So they're asking it questions. I'm like,
Yeah,
no.
we're all going to come out with the same answer, the same kind of response.
Well, because I come from an era
search
before
results.
Google, so I don't Google things. So I'm not going to ask my Google to find the things for me. I'm going to use that. What's it called? Brain to
I'm
to,
surprised. There's
to
a
do
pause
things.
there. He struggled to come up with that answer too.
Well,
I have to do
his
this
search.
thing called what's search.
No, it was your brain that was. It's slower than regular search.
Yeah.
I think that those results will actually be. You got to go soon.
he's
haven't
gotta
you?
go.
I have to disappear. I've got my session in a few minutes. Well, not in a few minutes, but I've got to go prep for it.
Oh, true.
We could wrap up with them. You could just why don't you do this? Is you make your final statement and then drop the mic,
Drop the mic.
and then we'll just wrap up.
That might be really loud.
We'll adjust it post production.
It's really not the same for
It's hard
dropping
to
this
do.
mic versus I'm dropping this mic.
Drop it on the glass.
Which doesn't, for the people listening, they don't realize the ridiculousness of me dropping a lapel mic. But for the people watching that, we'll do a mic drop.
And mic drop.
Do it on the carpet so you don't damage the mic.
So all right, I'll sign off. This is Loryan Strant. At Loryan Strant now. I'm signing off. I'm going to go prepare for my session. So
Good luck,
you gents
Loryan.
keep talking, and my final statement is that, go Office 365. Whoop whoop.
Peace out.
And now mic drop. That was really quite unsatisfactory.
No explosions. No Oh well. All the best, bud.
Thank you.
Good luck. See you up there. But so overall, just kind of wrap the discussion. I mean, it's you look at how people are approaching technology. I think we're in this transition period where people are adjusting of what I'm experiencing at least, where it's less talking about the technology. And even non-technical people per se are struggling with that too. They go to product and you say, stop talking product talk, and let's try to understand what you're actually trying to accomplish first. And it's been an adjustment. Certainly within like the speaker circuit, the MVP circles, they're struggling with that.
Yeah, and I think that's almost against the grain of how 365 and Azure are releasing services every week, every month. They give so much to talk about and so much to apply and address, which is good. It's good to have choice. But when the real way to cope with that change is to focus on just a few things and do them well. Yeah.
Well, that is something that most companies, and I would put Microsoft in the category of not figured out. I mean, and so they go and over and extend themselves, they spread themselves out in a number of different areas, which is why you have, even within the Microsoft ecosystem, you have these third-party vendors that are partners in Microsoft world, but that focus on one thing and then can out-innovate Microsoft in those areas. Which is not to say that Microsoft is not innovating or doesn't go and do some pretty incredible things. Microsoft has a long history of catching up very quickly and then surpassing some of those innovations. But I would agree that there are some areas where I think Microsoft would be best served not going and doing something net new, but just solidifying what is already there.
Well, GigJam was perhaps one of them. I think that the concept behind it was admirable, but to try and actually use it was kind of difficult.
I never believed GigJam was an actual product, though. I use so I talked about in my session yesterday was the fact that I actually recommended people go look at the Julia White demo on stage at WPC 2 years ago. because I likened it to like NASA and space exploration, where what is the practical application in my daily life of everything that's happening around the space program? Nothing. I don't care if the man is on the moon or on Mars or whatever. Like, however, the act of going through that, the level of innovation that is done to enable that miraculous, accomplishment. There's so much that is created. I mean, we have like Saran wrap because of that program. I mean, there's so many different innovations that came out of that improved computers, home technology, as well as our vehicles and a bunch of transportation sciences. But anyway, so all these kinds of things that GigJam is similar to that. I could see that in that demo, there's nothing. How much was real? Probably very little within that. It was a mock-up of what it could be. But the idea of going and automating and pulling people in to collaborate in very specific areas on a bigger problem that are secure, so that they can only see what you need them to see to answer a question, to provide insight, and then you go back into your regular kind of workloads. It's brilliant. Here's a parallel to that. So back in the early 2000s, I was the product manager on a product called Collaboration Manager, which was in many ways like like SharePoint 2010, 2013 era. This is back in 2001, 2002, and what we were trying to accomplish was allowing disparate teams, so multiple locations, to be able to collaborate and edit on artifacts, usually design artifacts for like CAD drawings and things, where you might have a team that's in New York City, a team that's in Tokyo, and then their tier 1, tier 2 manufacturing supply chain folks. And what made it complex, so we have things like that today that didn't really exist back in that era. There were some tools and some systems platforms in the 90s that were very expensive and used, like EDI. It's very expensive communication models. But what made it complex was that what we were doing was working with manufacturing organizations that were halting the manufacturing process of real products, and essentially then altering the design of those products, agreeing it, and then pushing it back into and starting up the manufacturing process again with all of the necessary adjustments. So that's not a small thing. It was, so if I go in and say like my iPhone, so I've got a 5S, yes, I'm old school with my 5S, it's so old-fashioned. But with an iPhone design, and let's say that they want to make it even thinner. Well, it's not just an external design, that then impacts the arrangement of and size of
how much space have you got inside to
all
actually
the components,
use.
Right? And by going thinner, you say, well, these gears, we're going to decrease them by like half of a millimeter, but to do that, it's going to impact those suppliers that are providing, like building those gears, those components, as well as the case itself. Who then need to go source the raw materials that need to hit certain heat tolerances and kind of all those kinds of things. So it impacts far down the supply chain. It's not just about this external design and impact around that. But my point here, with all these different pieces, the complexity of these collaboration components, is that you need to have the ability to not just have this superficial, we can have a conversation, but we need to hook our systems into the real activities, the real workload. We're moving towards a world where we're having a conversation, Daryl, you're in this part of the world, you're over in New Zealand, I'm back in the Western U.S., as we're working on something, we realize, we need to go and quickly, let's go build up this Power App. Let's try out, let's do a mock-up of this solution. and that mock-up, let's go plug it into. This is while we're live, online, chatting. We have maybe video, we're sharing our screens, we're building this app together, trialing this thing, and then going and then pointing it to, maybe I'm able to, for a limited time, give restricted access into my SharePoint site, my company's data, to pull real data to trial it through that MVP. As soon as we've done testing, unplug it from there, get back out.
Yeah.
I mean, those kinds of scenarios, that's where GigJam was going.
Yeah, exactly. Real work scenarios where you just need to give targeted access. The current tool
for a
set
limited time, but in real
rather
world,
exposing your whole desktop or sharing just an app, but saying I want to give this piece. And I think that's one of the things I noticed about GigJam when I was trying it out, testing it, was this isn't something that you just share and hope that people are going to pick it up later on and work with it. It has to happen right here, right now. It's a real-time thing. So perhaps that might have been one of the pieces.
It still is an R&D effort, isn't it? Isn't it still part of?
I don't know what Loryan was talking about. Maybe it's still in play, but I know they had a Twitter handle.
Yeah, no, but I think it is still part of Microsoft R&D. It's not moved over to a product team,
right?
I believe.
Okay,
but that's where it was developed.
Still hope for it, maybe.
I think so, but again, it's still out there. It still has a site. It still has a Twitter handle. There's still occasionally you'll see something about it. I don't know what they're doing, or if it'll be something that just get parsed out into various products. Who knows?
That happens.
I mean, it truly is an R&D effort. They're learning from it. I think advances will happen because of that.
Yeah.
And we could end up with some other product, not called GigJam, that does some aspect of it that is just revolutionizes the way, or evolutionizes the way that we collaborate. I don't know, but so
yeah.
I was very impressed by that demo and the concepts around it too. But highly recommend people go take a look, go do a search for that video, the Julia White demo of GigJam. It's worth seeing. So, all right. Well, Daryl, thanks a lot for your time. Loryan, he couldn't hold out. Couldn't go the distance.
Had to do the mic drop.
But it's always good to be down and visit. You're looking forward to going home. When are you going home?
Oh, this afternoon. I will be arriving at midnight on Friday, but at least I'll be home.
Yeah.
Yep. Sort of out on the edge of the world. I know that you want to get over to New Zealand again at some point.
I do. I'm hoping to be there at least next summer. We'll see about this event. What the timing is for that. But I'm thinking about, strongly considering, maybe staying for an entire month, renting like a house and Airbnb, and bringing one or two of my kids with me and hanging out. My wife has no interest
at all in that process.
I'm trying to. I don't know if she'd leave the dog, so we'd have to go that whole process of getting the dog cleared as well.
Yeah,
that takes time. I would love to go spend some more time in New Zealand. So
it's the best way to see it.
Yeah, well, I could see myself living there for some time if I could convince my wife. It'd be fun to go do that. But anyway, thanks a lot, and I will. Let's head back upstairs to see what other content we can get.
That's right. And to the camera, this is Christian Buckley. Yeah, I know.
But I should tell you though. So the end of the podcast, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, I'm Daryl as a service. So that's DARRELLAAS. I'm greedy with my letters.
Yeah.
And I'm also at Regarding Office 365. RegardingOffice365.com.
Excellent. All right, let you sign off on your video here.
Well, no, that was good. That was good.
All right.
Christian Buckley.
Buckley Planet.
Yeah.
How you find me, and so that's my blog. That's my Twitter handle.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.